Hello, Mansfield students. Welcome to our revision lesson about elements and compounds. The driving question for this lesson is, how do we classify chemicals into groups? This word here, classify, means to sort things according to their properties. We are going to sort chemicals into elements, compounds, and mixtures. Why would we want to learn about this in the first place? Well, Earth itself is a mixture of elements and compounds. We can find elements and compounds all over the Earth. For example, in the air around us, air is a mixture of nitrogen and oxygen and argon. These are all elements. Rocks tend to be compounds like limestone, malachite, hematite, more than one type of atom bonded together. The oceans, water is a compound. Salt is a compound. More than one type of atom bonded together. We can use these elements and compounds to make fuels, metals, plastics and polymers, glass, cement and concrete, medicines, alcohols, vegetable oil and margarine. There's a very wide range of products that we can use, that we can make using the resources of the earth. And it starts with finding mixtures and separating them into elements and compounds. Now, if we look closer at those elements and compounds, we can learn about their atoms and the bonds between atoms. If we can understand the pattern of atoms and bonds, we can take control and we can change the properties of those materials. We can make new smart materials. We can improve the properties of existing materials. And we can even find new and better ways of recycling materials if we can understand the pattern of their atoms and bonds. So scientists are often interested to work out the pattern of atoms and bonds inside a chemical. Let's start with air. If we were to zoom in on air, we would see this pattern of atoms and bonds. Here we have nitrogen, N2. Nitrogen is an element. It is made of one type of atom. And oxygen, another element, O2, made of one type of atom. Here's argon, another element. Notice argon atoms are not bonded to each other. They are just single atoms. That's another element. But here we have carbon dioxide, a compound, different types of atoms bonded together. And up here, water, H2O. More than one type of atom bonded together is a compound. Now, these chemicals are all mixed together in air. Air is a mixture of elements and compounds. The definition of a mixture is that it is made up of more than one substance, different substances, and they can be easily separated. It is possible to separate the nitrogen from the oxygen. They're not bonded to each other. We can separate out the H2O, the water, or the carbon dioxide, or the argon. We can separate these chemicals because they are a mixture, and a mixture can always be separated into different substances. Here's another example of a mixture. A solution is when a solid is dissolved in a liquid such as water. You can evaporate the water in order to obtain the solid again, and because it is a mixture, it can be easily separated. You can easily evaporate the water from the solid. One more example, a mixture of iron filings and sulfur. We can tell this is a mixture because it is easy to remove the iron. Use a magnet, it attracts the iron filings. The iron and sulfur, in this case, are not bonded to each other. They are a mixture, therefore the iron can be attracted out of the mixture. A mixture is a collection of chemicals, more than one substance, that can be easily separated. Okay, here's a mixture of chemicals on the screen. And in a moment, their chemical formula is going to start to disappear from the mixture. Each chemical is going to be removed from the mixture. Can you work out their names? Write down the name of each chemical before it disappears from the mixture. Here we go. They're about to start disappearing. Write them down. Okay, all of the chemicals have been removed from the mixture. They went pretty fast. How many were you able to name before they disappeared? Well, N2 is nitrogen. O2, oxygen, CO2, carbon dioxide, H2O, water. Now these are more tricky without a periodic table to look them up. Fe is the symbol for iron, S is the symbol for sulfur. When they are bonded together, it makes a compound called iron sulfide. Okay, now we need to consider how to classify chemicals, how to sort them into groups. This time we're going to sort them into which are elements and which are compounds. So let's go through how to do this. We need to use the pattern of atoms and bonds to classify chemicals into elements and compounds. And if they're mixed together, they need to be separated out so we can identify each element and compound separately. Just to remind you, before we move on, what is a mixture? Well, if we want to write a good definition of a mixture, we need to write something like a collection of chemicals that can be easily separated. More than one substance that can be easily separated. Once we've got a substance on its own, we can decide if it is an element or a compound. Now, definitions. An element is made of one type of atom only. They might be bonded together, like the two O's in O2, or they might be separate atoms, like in argon. But an element will be made of just one type of atom. A compound is made of more than one type of atom bonded together. They are always bonded together. In iron sulfide, the iron and sulfur are bonded together. In water, H2O, the hydrogen and oxygen are bonded together. More than one type of atom bonded together is a compound. Let's look at some examples. And here's another reminder that a molecule is a small group of atoms bonded together. Let's go back through those a little bit more slowly because that was too fast. Okay, so think to yourself now, is this an element or a compound? It is an element because it is made of only one type of atom. Let's try the next one. Element or compound? It is an element made of one type of atom only. Let's look at the next one. Element or compound? Wish I'd sorted these timings out earlier. It is a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. Let's move on to look at water, H2O. What would you say? Element or compound? It is a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. The next one looks like it's going to be iron. Let's see if we can just sort out the timings. Element or compound? Element made of one type of atom only. The next one is sulfur. Element made of one type of atom only. And this one, iron sulfide. Element or compound? It is a compound made of more than one type of atom bonded together. Let's keep moving through it. So if we're going to classify them and sort them, we need to put them into two groups, elements and compounds. Which group is which? Have a think to yourself. Which is the elements, which is the compounds? On the left are the elements. They are all made of one type of atom. On the right are the compounds. They all have more than one type of atom bonded together. Okay, right. And in this way we can classify chemicals into elements and compounds. So hopefully these examples are helping you to understand the difference between an element and a compound. Remember the definition, elements are made of one type of atom only. You can sometimes tell that from their chemical formula. There will be only one atomic symbol in the chemical formula. Whereas with a compound, in the chemical formula, there will be more than one type of atom. And please remember that each element starts with a capital letter. A big capital letter C next to capital letter O means carbon and oxygen. A capital letter C next to a small letter O would mean the element cobalt. If it's a capital, it's the start of a new element. So FeS is not three elements, it's Fe, starting with a capital letter, and then S, another capital letter. Iron and sulfur bonded together. More than one type of atom bonded together makes a compound. Okay, right, and we are going to do it this way. Could you please pause the video and match the correct words to the meanings. Pause it now. And here we go, let's look at the answers. A mixture, more than one substance that can be easily separated. An element, chemical made of one type of atom only. And compound, a chemical made of more than one type of atom bonded together. Okay, so hopefully now we're clear on the definitions of mixture, element, and compound. In the writing task, you're also going to be looking at diagrams of atoms and bonds and deciding which is an element and which is a compound. So let's do some practice of that now. Look at these three boxes and which is the element, which is the compound, which is the mixture, and think of some reasons as well. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, here we go. The mixture is the one on the right because we have different substances. These substances could be separated from each other. So for example, if you took this chemical here and separated it out, you would end up with a box of that chemical. So a mixture has different chemicals in it which could be separated from each other. In these two boxes, these are not mixtures, we call them pure substances. Every particle is the same, but which is the element and which is the compound? Well, on the left is an element because it's made of one type of atom only. In the middle box is a compound because it's made of more than one type of atom bonded together. So we have element, compound, and then a mixture where they have where two different chemicals have been mixed together. Let's have a look at another example. If we separate out these chemicals, that implies that the one on the right is a mixture. What about the others? They are both compounds, more than one type of atom bonded together. So we could describe this box as a mixture of two compounds. Okay, so remember the definitions. Mixture can be easily separated. Elements made of one type of atom only. Compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. Now, one way to classify chemicals or to classify anything is to write a flowchart. Here is a quick example. We could ask ourselves the question, does it have more than one substance mixed together? Yes, it must be a mixture. No, let's go the other way. Is it made of just one type of atom only? Yes, it's an element. No, it must be a compound. And a compound is made of more than one type of atom bonded together. Okay, let's check the extent to which, if you have the main bit of understanding needed for the writing task coming up. Pause the video and decide if the correct answer is A, B, C, or D. Okay, let's check. Have we got an answer slide in here? No, we don't. So let's just circle the correct answer, which is C. Elements are made of one type of atom, and compounds are made of more than one type of atom bonded together. Right, now it's time for your writing task. You need to begin by describing the meaning of a mixture and give an example. You're going to explain what an element and a compound is. If you've got that correct understanding, you are then going to explain a range of different situations. Why are these chemicals elements? Why are these ones compounds? And then there are some diagrams on the next couple of slides. You need to decide if each box shows an element, compound, or mixture, and explain your choice. Then you could write a flowchart of your own showing how to classify chemicals into three groups. On the next slide are some sentence starters. So I'm going to move the slide on, but you can then pause it. And now you need to take that 10, 15 minutes, however long you need, to write your written work for this lesson. Remember to write the driving question at the top and underline it. Full sentences are required. Put good detail and good science understanding into your work. So pause the video and take that time to do a really good job of your science writing work with good effort and good presentation. Pause the video and do that now. Go for it. Okay, I'm going to move this onto the answer slides. Let's go through it. Oh no, I'm not going to move. What am I talking about? Here are the diagrams. Decide if each is an element, compound, or mixture. Explain your choices. Remember, to explain, that means using the word because, and then use some science understanding to explain it. Pause the video if you need to. There is one more slide of Diagram's coming up. Here it is. Again, explain your choices. Use the word because and explain the situation using science understanding. Okay, here come the answers. Remember to use a different coloured pen to tick your work. Correct it if you need to. Add extra detail wherever possible. A mixture has more than one substance in it and it can be easily separated. There were 3 examples earlier in this video: air, iron and sulfur, and a dissolved solid in water, like salt or sugar dissolved in water. An element is a single chemical made of only one type of atom. A compound is made of more than one type of atom bonded together. That should say bonded together on the end there, so make sure you've included that in your answer, please. Then moving on. Fe, SO2 and N2 are all elements because they're each made of one type of atom only bonded together. For example, N2 only contains nitrogen atoms. These other chemicals are all compounds because they all contain more than one type of atom bonded together. For example, H2O is made of hydrogen and oxygen atoms bonded together. CO2 is made of carbon atoms and oxygen atoms bonded together. Notice the detail in the writing. Use as much detail as you can to explain yourself. Let's move on to the diagrams. A was an element, only one type of atom. B, a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. C, a mixture, more than one substance, could be easily separated. D was a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. E, an element, one type of atom only. F, a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. Hopefully you're really getting the pattern now. Let's look at these examples. Number 1 is a compound, more than one type of atom bonded together. Number 2, an element made of one type of atom only. Number 3 is a mixture of 2 compounds. And here we go. Number 4 is a mixture. There's a compound, an element, and another element. So a mixture of one compound and 2 different elements. And number 5 is a compound made of more than one type of atom bonded together. 6, put this in as a tricky example to stretch you. And this is actually the way that we represent the atoms in an alloy, which is a special type of mixture. Now, the reason why it's a mixture and not a compound is because the amount of this different type of atom which is added can vary from alloy to alloy. It might be 3%, it might be 5%, but it doesn't have a fixed, consistent ratio of one type of atom to another. In this chemical, number 5, there will always be one purple atom for every 2 brown atoms. You could write that as a chemical formula. You can't write the chemical formula of an alloy because the proportion of the second element varies. So we tend to count it as a mixture. So that's a hard example, one for you to try and test you out, test your thinking skills there. Okay, writing a flowchart. Here's the flowchart that I made for this lesson. And hopefully you will have done one of your own which makes sense, and written hopefully a couple of sentences on how somebody could use your flowchart to decide if a chemical is mixture, element, or compound. Okay, time to reflect and think about what you have achieved today. Today I have achieved describe, because I can describe the meaning of mixture. Today I have achieved explain, because I can explain the meaning of element and compound. Today I have achieved use, because I can classify chemicals as elements or compounds or mixtures. Using understanding of element and compound, using chemical formula, using particle diagrams. So today I have achieved use because I could classify chemicals as elements or compounds using my understanding of element and compound. Today I achieved create because I could create a flowchart showing how to classify chemicals as elements, compounds, or mixtures. Okay, and feel free to go and find somebody in your house and tell them what you have achieved today. If you've managed to get a really high achievement on this because you've put lots of detail into your work and you've explained yourself consistently, go and show somebody your work. Give them the chance to be proud of you for your efforts today. And this has been our revision lesson about elements and compounds for Year 7 and Year 8. And now you need to remember to go back to Show My Homework and complete the 10-question quiz. We are emailing quiz results to parents, so make sure you've done that. And hopefully, if you've done a really good job with this lesson, you should find that quite straightforward. But don't forget to go and do the 10-question quiz. Okay, thank you very much, Magnetsville students. Well done for your effort today. We will see you another time. Thank you.